Mr. Lalit Agarwal. He's CMD of Mart, and you could argue that one of the oldest hands at this space, right? Mr. Agarwal, good having you. Thanks so much for taking the time out. You know, we've seen this happening in FMCG for the last 4, 5, 6 years or maybe longer, that regional players, smaller players, players with focus are beating the pan-India players at their own game. Now, I know every company wants to expand and become larger, and therefore going pan-India is the only option. But I'm wondering, is the same starting to happen in the retail space as well? Focused players, players with geographical expertise or vertical expertise are actually delivering much better results, if you will, save for an exception or two in the retail space. What do you think about it?
Good morning. Definitely, as we all understand, India is not an easy country to understand the demography and the kind of diversity, the kind of cultural differences, the kind of language differences, the kind of territorial, ethnicity, or even the festivals or the seasonality. They all differ when we look at this India at all respect, and that is how individual players have a strength in individual areas and geography. And that is very, very important. And that becomes key to the success, because this is all about consumption. And it is all about consumption where consumer has their own background on their consumption, whether in terms of their social values or in terms of their economic status, or in terms of when do they buy, how do they buy. And these are 80% of India is largely that India which is below a certain income level, which is hovering around 20,000 rupees to 40,000 rupees per month. And that particular consumer or customer buys only 2 or 3 times a year. And that customer, when they buy, they make their decisions like an investment decisions, and those investment decisions has to be well thought of, and will only buy from a trusted player. So I think that trust plays a very important part there. Now, whoever is able to provide the trust to these consumers in these smaller towns and consumers who buy only 2, 3 times a year are able to succeed to create a value for them, and they definitely see more repeats coming from them. And I think it is a usual phenomena, but yeah, in retail, ultimately they look at the front end store, whom they buy from, and where do you procure, what are you selling. They don't matter what label is it being sold on. They don't matter. It all matters about the credibility of the retailer and what are they offering, what is the experience that they're offering, what is the product that they're offering, how is the design that they're offering, and above all, the quality that you're offering. And that is what creates the trust, and that creates the repeats for the customer. So I think fundamentally, yes, there is always the game. This game is definitely for focus, because it has a very thin margin game. It definitely involves large amount of SKUs, large amount of products and options, and it involves large amount of consumers. And looking at these consumer demography, it becomes very difficult for you to actually map that consumer with the taste and the product. And that is the game that you need to play. And this gaming becoming better and better, easier and easier with the adoption of technology and the adoption of digitalization. So I think these things are important, and these become very prima facie for the success, both in terms of your profitability or in terms of your revenue growth. So I think, yeah, definitely, see, ultimately, this also is a large management exercise where you've got so many stores to manage, and it's their management people or great manager or great management companies, they actually also excel. So the companies like Trend, we are able to see what a fantastic response that they are giving you. It is also an outcome of the kind of management styles and the kind of excellence they have in their processes, and that too is very, very important.
Certainly. Mr. Agarwal, would you believe that your growth numbers will come largely from focused areas, tier 2, tier 3, because that's worked so well thus far for you? And what are those numbers that we're thinking in? Because I mean, one point we're talking about consumer sentiment looking up, but the advanced tax numbers don't quite give that glimpse.
So, I mean, see, definitely we believe there's a large potential in India. And right now we are hovering around $2,700 per capita income. And that is definitely bound to grow as the government of India, as the opportunity for India and to India is all about the growth, and that is the manufacturing growth which is going to come in, and we definitely are going to see this stepping up to $4,000 maybe within the next 5 years, and that is where the trigger of consumption will begin, and that is where when people have a little extra money, that is where they will buy more than 3 times or 4 times, and that is where I believe a large amount of trigger of consumption can happen. But yes, apart from that, this India right now is being served, almost two-thirds of India is being served by the traditional or unorganized players, those small shops and bazaars. And that is where also is a huge opportunity for the organized retailer. And that is where you can bring in more consumers to your organized fray. And that is what is happening with all of these retailers that you have listed out. All of these retailers are going into the same territory, in the same lane, in the same street, and they are all getting their businesses and they are all growing. We've not seen too much of degrowth. We are seeing a lot of growth coming in. So I think there's a huge potential both from this perspective as well as the perspective that India is a youth country and youngsters do believe in consuming more, aspiring more, looking good in this social media world. So I think that aspiration, that need for consumption will increase the per capita spend, and that per capita spend on these fashion products is going to once again bring in more consumption. So we are very bullish on the potential in India, and we will keep growing. And we have always believed in this story, whether it is a tier 3 or a tier 2 or now a tier 4. All have such potential, and everybody is now well informed. Everybody chases their role model and wants to look like their role model, and that is where the opportunity lies. And I think one needs to only manage their own internal things. Retail doesn't have any problem. It is more about the retailer.
No, that's true, sir. That's true, sir. And good morning, Tamanna here. Just trying to understand what the mix is looking like for you, for V-Mart. Are you looking at any kind of an online sales movement, or you're sticking to, traditional brick and mortar? What is the trend as far as you see with a focus on Gen Z? Because that's what, you've been guiding to, and that's what your strategy is. What's happening there?
Tamanna, see, as I mentioned, the Gen Z movement is just not for India, but also for the entire world. And this is definitely the biggest consumer segment which is evolving in India. And that is where the larger part of decision makers are getting in. And they are just not deciding for themselves, they're deciding for the family. So I think this population is very, very important. And this demography will drive what consumption or consumer product look like. So I think our focus is also largely going to be on that particular area, but still hovering around family is very, very important. Young family, because these youths are becoming family per people, and they have smaller kids. So I think that particular segment is also very, very important to us. And we believe that this particular youth or the young family is the core to Indian market, and this particular segment is bound to grow. And that is where V-Mart is focusing on. Territorially, geographically, we believe entire India has large potential, especially in the northern part of India or central India, where the population is still rising and the youth population is rising. Southern India is somewhere getting aged up, so that particular segment is seeing a different kind of growth, has a better high or has a higher per capita income, so that has a higher potentiality to spend. So there are pluses and minuses of each territory and each geography, and there are pluses and minuses of each demography segment. And one needs to very clearly align on the product lines, communication, and the store look and feel or the experience that you're providing, so as to attract that kind of demography.